yet, but.
Craig, I will be in Turkey.
Right.
Hey, Seth and or Stacy, can you unmute so I can check the audio?
Hi, Zoe.
Do you have me?
Perfect. Thank you. You can go back on mute.
All right, thank you. You hope I go back on mute, you mean?
No, good. I think of anything.
All right, Galen, ready when you are.
Okay, thanks. So. All right, it is 5:30 and I'd like to call this policy committee, or excuse me, finance committee meeting to order for the Madison Public Schools. We have a relatively short agenda. We'd like to review the 25-26 draft budget calendar. And then we'd like to discuss wrapping up 2023-24 end of year finances. Our finance director, Stacy Owens. So to start, let's go over the calendar for the upcoming year. I believe this will be on the web at some point. I'll walk through it verbally so people aren't glued to the TV and follow it. So we're meeting today to discuss the budget calendar. Let's see, the next big firm deadline will be November 15th. To enter the proposed budgets into the accounting system. On January 21st, we'll need to take action by the Board of Education on the administration of the recommended budget if necessary. So those are the highlights. Craig, sure, to fill in the details.
Yeah, so Stacy and I always talk, it really does feel like we just finished last budget year and the budget discussions. So that is one thing I have requested, and I believe the board was in a similar mindset as I have been, and we've been talking about now that we have the option to vote earlier, even if it's a week or two, that we would prefer an earlier vote in town, because I don't think it would not impact our discussions at all. And it seems like at the end of the time frame, we put things on hold for several weeks, just waiting for that May date. So Stacy, who do you feel the best place to have that thought heard?
I'm sorry, as far as the final moving the dates.
Yeah,
Yeah.
having the town budget vote potentially earlier, than second week of May, second Tuesday in May.
Yeah, so I do, probably the last meeting in October or the Board of Finance in November, that's when we will approve the calendar. So we're gonna start talking about it on the town side, so I do think we'll have information sooner than later. We have to
Okay.
approve it, yeah, because the town starts their budget process in December. So we'll have to know that calendar. So hopefully we'll have some answers pretty soon.
Seth, you agree with that as well, I believe?
Yeah, I mean, if we can get it done earlier, but the only question I have is when are we gonna be able to fit in the board's discussion on guidelines?
That would be October 7th, October 14th. Maybe, actually 22nd, October 22nd, the finance committee. Right, just
Oh,
read off-
because that looked like it was the central office administrative team discussions about the guidelines. But are those intended on the 30th, the 7th, and the 14th? Are those intended to be like workshops with the board and the central?
No, those would be central office and school administration.
Yeah, so I think I misspoke, Seth. I think it's the 22nd that we have the first opportunity to discuss guidelines as a committee or before the board.
22nd is a Sunday, right?
October.
October, sorry.
Oh, October.
Yeah.
October, okay. Oh, okay, so the central office administrative team is going to propose its guidelines, and then the board will discuss ours on the 22nd of October. Okay. I see. Yep, no, that sounds good to me. Thank you.
Thank you. And then in terms of things, we, like it's shared, we do seem to start earlier each year. I know Stacy's been looking at numbers already. The big piece will be when we get our insurance people in to start to look at that first run. That's usually not until the end of October, and has very few months completed of the current year. But it does give us kind of an indication because it also builds off of where we entered last year. So we'll continue to track those numbers as we move forward. We'll have pretty much all our contracts in place, soon. The teachers, the personnel committee reached a tentative agreement with the teachers last evening, so they will vote on that. Teachers will vote in about 2 weeks, and then the board, I'm hoping to have vote on that on October 8th. And so we would then, Heather would be able to input that information. So we'd be, have most of our items known except for price and last minute pieces with the reorg. We've done a lot of work ahead of time in terms of staffing and where things land with that. But there may be some unknowns still in that area, and then also obviously, insurance continues to be known, and then retirements. We're expecting more retirements than we've received in the last few years because of the reorganization and people moving and stories people have told us and things like that. They seem pretty consistent, and so I think that we'll have more retirements than normal, which will potentially give us some opportunities to save money there.
So we can anticipate that even if there are increases, most of the big ticket items or variables will be known by October 22nd. We can make a pretty stable plan for the proposed budget, subject to guidelines and assumptions and set from the year priorities.
Yeah, I mean, certainly our discussions with the administrative team that we've had so far have been, we view this budget as kind of an opportunity to be in a place with the reorg, but not probably at a point where we're adding new positions or new initiatives, to the plate, and not that you saw many last year, but, there were some things last year that, added up to some sizable kind of one-time cost or things like that, but, and then we had a big position coming up, a grant we needed to continue, so we do not see those types of things going forward. We see some position shifts within the organization, so, we may need less teachers in one area, but we'll need more teachers in another area. We may need one less person in one non-certified position, but another not certified position in another place. So I think there'll be some movement around like that will lay out cleanly, because we've done a lot of that work potentially already. I think having the teachers contract settled helps us out tremendously. That planning.
Well, so that about covers what we could do right now, prepare the calendar, I suppose. Stacy, would you like to fill us in on end of year finances for 23-24?
Yeah, so I ran a report on Friday and it looks like we have balances of $140,000, and that's a round number. If you want the exact, I can tell you 142.20. Things continue to come in, so it's not a final number. We also have the auditors coming out on October 7th. They'll be out for 2 weeks. Typically, the audit is not done until December, but I don't anticipate any big changes in those numbers, in that number.
Great, thank you. Do we have any questions? Seth, any comments?
Yeah, so just so I understand, whatever number ends up in that category, unspent, will be contributed towards our 2% fund, I guess we're calling it. Will we retain it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the actions the board took and our notifications to Board of Finance, Board of Selectmen, that would go on. Well, it'd be well below our 2%, would go into our fund. And then my thoughts is that we'd be coming to the administration, Stacy and I would be coming to this committee to talk about our proposal for expending those funds, on costs that meet the guidelines set by the board, that are within the guidelines set by the state law. Then that would go to the board for approval, and then we would notify that we don't no longer need to request it. We would notify the Board of Finance and Board of Selectmen what we're spending that money on. Really out of courtesy. I think it's good practice. I think I'm fully supportive. But it's not required that we do that. I think that was something that came up in our conversation with the tri-board chairs, and Seth and I thought that was something totally made a lot of sense to do that, so that they would know. And I think the intention is to remove any those kind of larger cost one-time funds that could be taken care of, these types of things. So my thought at this point is it's probably going to go towards things at Brown School, but we'll see where we're at that point.
And we had previously replenished the special education fund, so that's above and beyond.
Yes, so the special ed's still at 350,000. If Stacey, if we wanted to ask for that control back, because we could have that under the current law, we would need to go through a process with the boards, but we weren't in a rush to do that at this point, because it's kind of set aside and it's working. I think there's a solid understanding in the town that if we ever needed those funds, it'd be available to us. So I don't think there's any rush to make that decision. I think it'd be good to go through this process a few times, and see where we're at. Will probably come a time where we want to make that 350 more because of increasing costs in special ed. So 350 really could be, a student or two, that moves into town, and there's a high cost attached, so, you know, that would be something to think about down the road.
And even if we were to like assert sole jurisdiction over that $350,000 special needs fund or special ed fund, we probably should still consider keeping that as a separate fund from what we're calling the 2% fund. It would still count against the 2% maximum, but you know, I would want to make sure that, and I think it's good practice to make sure that any monies we're spending for, you know, one-time educational expenses does not bleed over into using our special ed fund money.
I agree. Yeah, I think that's the major benefit of not changing it is that it's very clear that this is not, you know, that new carryover money available to us. That's a good point.
So if I can, the one change that we can consider later on, once we're used to this 2% fund, we could ask, right now that the special ed fund is part of the Board of Finance regulations. So we may want to modify that if so that we do have discretion of taking money out of that later on. But I agree. I don't think there's anything we need to do with that fund right now.
Thank you, Stacey. We do have a few things that really did come up very recently we'd like to share with the Finance Committee in anticipation of some future action. We're planning for these items right now, but we found out very late last week that we are no longer a Title I district. I believe that will be just for 1 year only because we were one student below the threshold at 1.97% of at the poverty level for the federal designation. And so that put us below the 2% requirement to do that. It's based on 2021 student data. And so our calculations now is that we'd be back above the 2%. However, it does remove $100,000, just a few dollars under $100,000 that we currently have planned for and have staff that we're paying for out of that. And so that was one bucket that we've only known as an issue for less than a week. And then the most recent, or the other one that's kind of an ongoing number that is shifting is electricity. And so we talked to the board and shared with the full board, I think this committee last time, that we were low on electricity because of the increased costs that came out after our budget was set last year. And so we'll need to come up with a plan to identify funds to be able to pay for that. So we're looking at those right now. I will share, we had a very late retirement at the high school in English that we have not filled at this point. And then we have a teacher departing us in math at the high school who hasn't left yet, but it would be another position that we would look to fill internally by teachers picking up additional classes because they're already set. It's just been a challenge. The teacher teaches high level math and also is our math coach at the high school. So we know that the likelihood of finding somebody out in the open market for that type of position is very unlikely at this time of the school year. And so we have not made a decision, you know, about the following year, but those are two full-time teaching positions that would pretty much come close to filling those two gaps. So, you know, in that realm, we're in a pretty good place. But you know, we're also looking at other accounts too, and so we'll have a firm plan for you next time we meet.
And just to clarify with electricity, it's not based on usage or rate. It's a third factor driving up the cost. So it's not like we can turn off the lights.
Correct. Yes. Although we have done our best to try and send out some reminders to employees on you know how to save money, not have things plugged in. You know, we had a pretty favorable start of the school year in terms of air conditioning and temperature. We did try for some time to have it a little higher range than we've had before, and we had to make some adjustments based on that. We're very excited, and this will be a volatile account for some time, but next year will be extremely interesting to see. So we'll have new rooftop units at Daniel Hand. I know the board is aware. One rooftop unit serves floor 3 through floor 1 at the high school, and so you could have within those rooms on the 3rd floor, it could be 78 degrees, and on the 1st floor it could be 66 degrees, and so it's far from ideal the way that operates, especially with you know, the electricity costs there. And so you know, you might have windows open on both of those floors because you're trying to bring in either, you know, cooler air or the warmer air, depending on where they're at. So that we believe will save us a significant amount of money in our most challenging building at this point. And then also Neck River will be geothermal. This building is geothermal as well. So that will be a full year of geothermal at this building, but then Neck River will be geothermal. Now, geothermal uses electricity, of course, still, but they're looking at potentially solar panels for that building too. So that could be a savings and a good swing. And then we're closing 3 buildings that you know, are not the most efficient for both electricity and heat. So yeah, that will be you know, really quite a task for us to determine, you know, the electricity budget for next year. And then the state, I know, is considering this increase expires in April, and so where that goes, we really don't know. You know, that could it could be continued in some form or fashion. It's like a delivery charge, basically. You know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's, you know, the delivery charge and paying for basically the public support for electricity savings. It's like that programs for that. So it's a huge increase that they put through on that. You know, we're hoping that, you know, expires or change to, like, it's really hit us, I think, harder than even, you know, on percentage wise the homeowners that you know, we're also hearing. So. Stacy, anything that I missed in there, or immediate concerns with this budget year that we've been dealing with that we want to share with the committee?
I don't think so. No, I don't think so. Utilities, Title I are really
Yeah.
the big items right now, right?
Yes. We did not, and this is a good thing. I always want to say that we did not see much turnover over the summer. So whereas some years we've come to you with some balance in HR, you know, for employee turnover, things like that, we did not see that this summer. And you know, as we have with other summers, we've had people leave us and then had a replacement that costs even more. So you know, want to make sure we're hiring the best candidates on the market, and you know, continue to do that. And so sometimes that does occur. It definitely occurred in a couple of cases this summer. In other cases, we were able to save money, but yeah, it's not a significant delta in that area.
Can I just ask, where did we end up with final numbers wise on kindergarten enrollment and overall enrollment, and is that having any impact on what we projected for the budget?
Yeah, so off the top of my head, I know we were at about 100 for Jeffrey for K and 65 or so for Ryerson. So Ryerson was a little lower. I think that's where we saw some students stay home, but we were right on the projection for Jeffrey. So we have slightly lower class sizes at Ryerson, and they're 14 to 15 for this year. And so we'll look at that when they go to first grade, you know, as a potential area. But you know, that was one. I know we had some families making their decision in August, and you know, so it was right up to that point. And then we did see some good increases throughout, you know, with some families moving in, you know, throughout the grade levels, so that was good to see. But yeah, I'll have a full report once we have the October 1 number.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, do we have any public comments or questions? Okay, hearing none, let's go ahead and adjourn at 5:54.